Welcome, 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 everyone, and happy Thursday. It is 12 noon Eastern time here on the East Coast, and you know what that means. It is time for Talent Experience Live, the show that covers everything that you need to know in talent acquisition, recruiting, talent marketing, talent management, and all things human resources. I am your host, Devin Foster, and this program is proudly brought to you by the good folks here at Phenom, whose purpose is to help 1 billion people find the right work. That is why we host this program every Thursday at noon Eastern time, why we hosted our HR Tech Innovations last Thursday. I know you missed the show, but hopefully you were able to check that out as we talked all about generative AI and Phenom X Plus and the X Plus agents that can help you do some of those repetitive tasks and make you more efficient at work and everything in between. It's why we have a great podcast that was actually launched this past Monday with Cliff Yurkowitz called Unusual Attitudes. He had Sadie Bell of HPE on there talking about really her unique journey and how she got into human resources. So definitely check that out. You can find all of it at phenom.com, where you will also find how we help 1 billion people find the right work. And we do that through our intelligent talent experience platform, which helps candidates find the right fit faster, employees evolve in their current roles and beyond, recruiters achieve next level productivity as well as efficiency, and managers get to build better teams through data analytics and automation. So as I mentioned before, you can find all of that at phenom.com. But don't go yet, because today we have a very special episode. Today we have a Shaker Recruitment Marketing on, specifically Sara Elkins, Vice President of Digital. And we are talking about the digital evolution, human engagement, specifically in recruitment marketing. And I think that this is fascinating, specifically because a few weeks ago, I was obviously mindlessly scrolling through the social media, and I stumbled across a video which talked about the way that jobs are changing. Obviously, we've talked about skills, we've talked of everything in between, but this particular video stressed the human touch aspect of really work and life in general. I forget what the podcast is, so shame on me. But nonetheless, it was all around how as we enter into this next digital evolution, there is going to be so much more stress on the human aspect of it, where we are going to see a rise of in-person sales folks again, because eventually we're going to get tired of some of this generative AI and this generative email blasts and everything along those lines. Not to say that it is going anywhere. I think we can all safely assume that artificial intelligence, generative AI, and quite frankly, technology as a whole is here to stay. We've seen that, and it's lasted the test of time, and we will continue to see it. But there are some roles and quite frankly, some interactions where you do want to speak with a human. And today we are talking about how we can leverage both the digital aspect and that human touch with Shaker Recruitment Marketing. So without any further hesitation, let's bring Sara onto the program. Sara, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
I am doing well. I want to disclose to the audience at home, if by chance I have to leave, it is because we have an exciting family emergency on the line. I won't go into too many details, but just want to preface beforehand in case I have to hop out of here. But I'm not more excited. I am very excited about our conversation today, Sara. And it is tradition around these parts, before we get into the meat and potatoes of the episodes, I always like to ask how people stumble into human resources. And the reason why I say stumble is because rarely does someone say that they want to grow up and work in HR. It does happen from time to time, but most of the time you'll hear professional athlete, doctor, bus driver, fireman, whatever it may be. How did you end up in HR, and what did you want to be when you grew up? What did you want to be when you were a kid?
So I think when I was very little, I wanted to coach the Olympic swim team. So that didn't pan out. I initially out of college started as a teacher. So I started as an educator. So foundationally, I'm all about training and education and teaching and measuring things and results. So that's kind of how I came. But it's kind of funny because everything that you just listed off just 2 seconds ago, police officer, firefighter, athlete, they all have a very human element to it. And there's a lot of personal relationship. None of those people you just mentioned were people who are heads down, not talking to anybody.
Yeah. No, it's true. They all have to interact on a regular basis. And good news for you, Summer Olympics, Paris coming up this so you still get to coach just from your couch.
Exactly. I still have a chance.
No, it's interesting. So you said you wanted to be in, the Olympic swimming coach. How did you end up in your role as VP of Digital at Shaker?
So sure. So as I said, I started off as an educator and a teacher, taught and kind of worked my way into consulting and teaching, training, desktop application, and then ended up over in the agency space, which I loved because it kind of brought together that teaching element, that consulting element, and then bridged it with technology. So I've been in this space for 24 years. So I've seen a lot of stuff and a lot of evolution, and AI and generative AI is just like the next step along this really crazy journey that we're all on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's happening right before our eyes, whether we like it or not. Your role now as VP of Digital, I imagine probably not a role that existed, 10 to 15 years ago or whatever it may be. I know Shaker has been around for, I think, over 75 years.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your role and what it entails.
Absolutely. So as the VP of digital over here at Shaker, I oversee our digital media department. And so in that digital media department, we create strategies based on clients' goals and objectives, and we execute them, measure, and evolve and test and learn. In addition to that, I also do a lot of our HR tech consulting, which I love to do, which then puts me on the phone with the client, listening and learning about the client's goals and objectives, and then trying to kind of create those puzzle pieces of what that solution looks like.
Yeah. So recruitment marketing, I think everyone has a different definition. Everyone does it differently, right? Everyone markets differently. Everyone does that. I want to ask you kind of a three-part question here.
Okay.
What do you think recruitment marketing is? Do you have a specific definition? And does Shaker have a specific definition? So maybe it's, what do your clients think it is? What do you think it is? And then what is it really, right? At the end of the day, what is recruitment marketing?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think fundamentally what is recruitment marketing? It's creating targeted solutions to attract, engage, retain, and ultimately hire and keep that talent. Like that's on the very, very basic level of what it is. What it means to me, I think it's all those things. It's trying to figure out what is the problem first before we start talking about, oh, you should be doing this, or this should be doing, or your competitor is doing this, and start talking, what am I trying to fix? Like, what is that thing? And then from Shaker's perspective, it's both, but we have a really unique position in the market where we've been in the business for 75 years. We've changed and morphed as things have gone. Clearly, recruitment marketing has changed, right? From print ads to job boards to programmatic advertising to mobile to now we're into AI, and we're still here, right? And we're still working with some of the top brands and global brands, and we still have people who are coming to us to basically say, hey, how can you help? And it's because we have that unique perspective where we don't have a thing. I don't have a solution that I'm coming. And so we get to really, and that's what makes it exciting for me, because I get to come to the table and really kind of consult and put like the best in class solution together for our clients.
Yeah, it's fascinating because I have conversations with our customer success team, on a regular basis. And anytime marketing is mentioned, some folks get a little hesitant, right? Like I'm not a marketer. Like I'm a recruiter. I have conversations with people. I do this. But when you talk about the history of Shaker and print ads and things like that, I'll take it even a step further back, where there was a time when help wanted signs was
Right.
recruitment marketing back in the day, right? And some of those things are still the same. I still walk past my favorite restaurants and they'll say, hiring bakers or hiring dishwashers, whatever it may be, apply inside. The print ads have kind of shifted to digital, right, with job boards and LinkedIn ads and things like that. And we're continuing to see this evolution. So I want to ask you, don't give me a full history of recruitment marketing,
Higher
but
dissertation coming.
yes, please. I would love the whole thing and an infographic as well.
Yes.
No, I want the evolution of recruitment marketing. It has constantly changed with the times.
Right.
I want to ask you, is it sometimes late to the game when it comes to evolving? And now looking forward, do we think we are more tech savvy is probably not the right word, but more adventurous when it comes to the evolution of digital marketing and recruitment marketing in attracting candidates because labor markets are so tight and top talent is so tough to find?
Right. I think recruitment market. So I always look at consumer marketing because when you mentioned people look at recruitment marketing and they're like, oh, I'm not a marketer. Like, this is not my thing. But we as consumers know what a good user experience is, right? We as consumers and as people who buy things, whatever those things are, we're constantly bombarded by advertisement on ads to buy this house, laptop, this shoe, this whatever. And we all recognize, even as consumers, what a good user experience is. When I talk to clients, it's like if you do a Google search for whatever, job or otherwise, how many people actually go to the second page? Like, they don't. And they go, well, no, I go back and I redo my search again. Okay, so you're doing that. So as you apply it to recruitment marketing, you mentioned, does recruitment marketing kind of lag behind? Well, I think probably one of the big things is recruitment marketing usually doesn't have the budget that our friends over in the marketing and consumer side have. So that just means that we need to be a little bit more creative. We need to be more efficient. We need to be more strategic on, what we're doing. And we clearly need to measure it, but it moves so fast. It's about testing and learning. Like, try it, small budget, localized approach, and then see what happens and measure it. If it doesn't work, then we pivot and we move.
Yeah. No, it's that age old the thing that I hate to say is HR is just a cost center, right? And I think we're making progress towards it getting a better reputation because whether you like it or not, it's the foundation of your organization. I don't care what technology you build, how wonderful it is.
Right.
Somebody has to maintain it, update it, keep it with the times. Otherwise, it's not. And the budget isn't there for recruitment marketing, but I think people are savvy, right, at the end of the day, and they're willing and able to do more with less, right? Especially with technology like this generative AI. So I want to ask you, from conversations that you're having with clients and things like that, have they been quick to adapt? When generative AI first came out, everyone was like, they're going to take our jobs. Everything is going to be outsourced to robots.
Right.
I had a conversation earlier today where people who are leveraging AI are going to replace people who are not, right? I think that's the whole thing. No one is going to be completely replaced by artificial intelligence. But I want to ask you, do people seem to be excited about the future because of some of the budget constraints that they have, where they may not be able to hire an entire videographer team for a day in the life video, but they can do more with their phone, do more with less in that instance? Does that make sense?
It does. I think people, I would say in general, are hesitant because it's coming out so fast and it's coming out so quickly. There isn't these test cases and a lot of use cases as in a roadmap that says do A, B, and C and you win. So I think that's where there's some and then, you sprinkle in a little bit of security, data privacy, and the legal team. I think in general, especially since we are dealing with humans and it's all about talent and getting the right person in the right job, right? Then people are a little bit hesitant of how to do this.
Yeah. No, that makes sense, and I think it's a good segue to the next question, which is how are technology platforms like Phenom helping with some of those things? You mentioned their legal compliance. I know a huge concern around AI is putting data just out on the internet, whether it's blinded, whether it is hidden to the best of your ability. People are scared. So, is there an advantage to leveraging some approved platforms and people who and technologies that are staying within the guidelines that we have right now, which aren't many, but are prepared to stay within them in the future, versus kind of going out and starting with a Google search, as you mentioned before?
Right. So I think so for Shaker, we're completely unbiased, right, in the
Yeah.
situation. And we have various partners. We've partnered with you guys since 2014, back with I think iMomentus, or iMomentum. And I mean, like, and our team that we have here at Shaker is completely certified in your platform. So when we do partner together, we work with you guys in terms of technology and helping you guys kind of coach through some of those really technical pieces on your platform, but then also to guiding that client in terms of candidate experience. What does it look like? What are those page layouts look like? What is your creative? What is your brand? And trying to bring all that together.
Yeah, no, I 100%. And my brain was rattling real quick on, is it iMomentum or is it iMomentus?
I know.
And
We just
um,
made up a
it's
company.
yeah, no, well, luckily we changed the name and we dropped the people in Phenom as well. So we've gone
Right.
through 100 rebrands. So it was tough for me, but yes, I think it is important, and working with the plethora of partners to find out what's right for organizations is also right. I know we have conversations here at Phenom where the employee numbers just aren't there, right? They're not hiring enough, so it wouldn't make sense to partner with us and things like that. I want to, you mentioned the partnership from, back over a decade now. One of the things that we struggled with as far as technology was we started as a mobile career site organization, right? It was, and I have spoke to our VP of sales and things like where they were laughed out of boardrooms, right? Where it's like, what do you mean? No one is going to apply for a job on their phone. They're going to go down to the internet cafe and log in and upload their resume and print out resume paper. Times have changed, right? And I'm sure that there have been times that have changed in conversations with you. I want to ask you, being abstractly here, do you have any examples of some of the evolutions you've seen from customers that you have, right? Where we're talking about how fast things are moving, the hesitation that folks have, where they were very hesitant in the beginning and now they're more so on board to some of these new technologies.
Right. I think we have lots of examples as we've worked with clients, and that's one of the things that we do best is we're bringing together the trends for our clients. But I think it comes through that testing and learning, because when you're looking at a talent acquisition team who are trying to get butts in seats and to hurry up and hire, they can't hit the pause button and say, hold on, let me turn and move, and I'm going to do all this stuff over here to see if it works. So we'll come in and try to coach and do parallel pathways. So what are you guys trying to do in terms of getting those butts in seats that we have to get those hires? And what are those goals in terms of, I need 300 nurses in the next 3 months in these locations? And then on top of that, let's take a look at what you guys are currently doing. What platform are you currently on? What is the current candidate experience, and how can we start bridging and putting things together?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And humans are creatures of habit, right? We like things the way that they are. We don't like to change. So even, you mentioned the challenge of stopping and putting things on pause is a disaster for a business, right? Because you need people to continue to move through the door. But then on top of that, where you roll out piece by piece has to be a challenge as well. When it comes to that, are there specific pieces that you like to start with, right? When it comes to rolling out a successful recruitment marketing strategy with a team leveraging a new piece of technology, do you start small Is it, hey, let's start with a simple email campaign? Is it something big where we're in the process of revamping our career site? Not too much human touch here, but it is a part of the strategy where we want people to join our talent network or something like that. Obviously, it's different for every organization, but ideal situation for you, knowing that humans are very hesitant to change, where would you prefer to start?
Yeah. So, I mean, part of this is a little bit of a loaded question, right? Because you get the high gray answer. Well, it depends. It depends on this client. It depends on their brand. It depends on what is their brand awareness, budget, timing. But a lot of it is probably centered around that career website and what that career website experience is, because that's kind of the central home base for a candidate. So if they have ads or interaction or search or Google or an email flyer that you mentioned or a banner or whatever the heck it is, eventually they're going to come back. And what does that look like? And what is that experience? What is the content that's on there? So a lot of times I'll encourage our clients, go to your own career website, go look at the content that is there, try to search for a job that is there, try to apply, see what happens. They, not being the, user experience engineer, they will know whether this is a good experience or bad. And then they can kind of come back. And then that's where we start. Because even if we start with that outreach that you mentioned in the beginning, the email, the banner, the flyer, the whatever, you've paid somehow for those eyeballs. You're going to send them back to a central home base that then you can't convert.
Yeah. No, if it's not working for people, people find ways around it. And that's the last thing that you want from an HR compliance perspective. I know from personal experience where I've spoken to recruiters and they're like, don't apply yet. Let's get you in touch with the hiring manager first. We'll do this because we know the experience is bad, but you can't do that on a grand scale, right? You can't do that for every candidate that comes through. And to your point, the last thing that you want is someone to go and click apply and be like, I'm never coming back to this site again, and losing them and ignoring them. To make it as seamless as possible is great. And also to have that map and that journey of, all right, we reached out via this recruitment marketing campaign, this specific billboard they saw, this QR code, whatever it may be. We have that tracked, and now we can see what is actually converting talent down the line, right? Am I?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And so you mentioned math. Unfortunately, it does have math involved, because depending on your dollars that you spent, and then trying to track them all the way through. So trying to track them through, if they're participating in a CRM or a talent community, what are those conversion rates? What are those interactions? What is that cost? And then, is that person staying? What does it look like? Because if I give a client, we've made it really easy over the years through technology to apply for jobs. And now, even with AI, I'm hearing from recruiters that candidates are getting really good to match their resume up perfectly with that job description and even that cover letter. But now, as a recruiter, I might have 5 humans in front of me that all look really identical, because everybody's now used AI to go ahead and get in the door. But is that, once that person applies and goes through that hiring process, do they stay? Or am I coming in and staying for 30 days or 60 days? So the mathing in the middle of this is trying to figure out, how much do I have to spend to attract these people? And then what are some of my metrics? And that's kind of the big holy grail that everybody's after, right? No client comes to me and says, I don't really care about the data. Just go ahead and spend the money.
Said no one ever, right? That is it. But you raise an excellent point there, and I think it ties in with the theme of today, where candidates are savvy. They always have been savvy, but they're getting even more where they are, not tricking the algorithms. That's the wrong thing to say, but they are leveraging technology to their best advantage. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong here, the main goal of recruitment marketing is to have an influx of candidates coming to your organization to want to work there, so that recruiters and talent acquisition folks have to spend less time doing one-to-one outreach, and they can spend more time having those conversations to really see if an individual is going to last there 30, 60, 90 days, right? Could that potentially be viewed as a success, right? Like we found the right people, they're technologically savvy enough, they look like a great fit. Now I have to have that human element, because there is a balance, right?
Right. We want the humans and those recruiters and those hiring managers to do what they do best, which is to have those conversations, to engage with them, to inform them about, their brand, what the job is, what is it like to work here, so that they get the right fit candidate. So the technology and the AI piece that is allowing people to kind of move quicker and creating more efficiencies in terms of, turnaround times and getting back to candidates and giving them the right content and helping to engage them and keep them engaged in a perfect scenario as an employer. Once I feel I have a head count in this department, I already have somebody who's already been screened right here. Do you know what I mean? That's already in my pipeline to just go ahead and pull them in. That's the perfect scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't always work out that way, right? There's always times where somebody's going to be scrambling and you need somebody, but having that pipeline of individuals to backfill roles, especially for evergreen roles and things like that, where they may be starting points for an individual in their career.
Yeah.
And the goal as an employer is to have them grow, right? Is to have them continue to progress their career within your organization and not going outside and doing all of that. So super, super exciting stuff. And if you're able to provide that human interaction to allow talent acquisition and recruiters to do what they do best, which is build that human connection, it's going to make people feel better at the end of the day. I saw Miriam chimed in the comment section. It'll help you become the employer of choice, right?
Absolutely.
If it's you versus someone who never hears back, right? I think everyone wants everything to be automated right now, but you do have to have that human interaction. I want to ask you, if you could give, this is another loaded question, so I apologize, one piece of advice to talent leaders who are getting started with recruitment marketing. We mentioned everything's recruitment marketing, but really starting to embrace it and encourage their team to leverage it. What would you get them to start with specifically? Is there the tools out there? Is there an approach? What does that look like for you?
I would start with that solid foundation. I think it's just so critical that if you're starting, to evaluate what you have. Like, take a minute and look first of what you have. What is your current tech stack that you have? What is your current experience on your career website? Do you have a talent community? How are you measuring? And try to figure that out first, and then figure out what are your pain points, and maybe pick, this pain point or that pain point to start with. I think in our space, it has gotten very complicated and it's very overwhelming because you have all the things and you have all the bright, shiny things coming at you all at once. But it goes back to the basics of, if I implement this AI tool, this new tech over here, am I really solving what the problem is? So it's going back to that. And then also to picking a partner that's willing to work with you and learn about your business. That's part of it, because I know for us, all of our clients work with us completely different. We have some clients who do everything with us, and we have some clients who just do creative or just do programmatic or just do one thing. And so we'll work where they're at. I think what makes our space confusing is sometimes clients are looking at all the things and all the space. And I relate it back to swimming. When I'm swimming in the pool, I'm never probably going to be the fastest person in the pool. But if I'm always looking at who's in the other lane and trying to keep up with them, I'm never going to win in my own lane. So it's trying to check to see where are you at in your own lane, and create those milestones that, am I better than I was yesterday, 1 week ago, a month ago, and then start applying that.
I think that's a fantastic sentiment, because it's what we're caught up in right now as like kind of a society, right? Is the rat race of constantly. I work in social media, so everyone's comparing themselves with likes and things like that, and it's like we have to focus on ourselves and being a better us tomorrow, right? And I think that's your point, because if you're comparing your recruitment marketing strategy to name the huge company, right? They're going to have different budget. They're going to have different individuals. Yeah. They're probably hiring for different positions as well, even if you're in the same industry.
But like, they all have their own different pain points. So, I mean, the obvious of, budget and location, brand awareness. Yeah. Are you going into new markets and people don't even know who you are? But most people work, right? We go to work, we show up with work, we work with other humans. What is that human story about why I'm working at that company versus the other competitor? What is that? What is it like to work at your company? What is my job like? And bringing that human piece constantly back into it.
Yeah, especially with so much being like, it's so transparent right now. Like from everyone, the argument back in the day was compensation, right? Well, can we beat them on compensation, right? There's salary.com. There's all of these different websites. So you really have to create that best experience and figure out what your unique pain points are, to your point. There's a question that came through in the comment section from Vita. It's how do you ensure the candidates trust the AI practice you utilize for recruitment marketing?
That's a good question. I think part of it is just being transparent. So every client is using AI differently. And then I think also too, going back to what is the definition of AI, artificial intelligence. So if anybody's using Google Ads right now, you're already using artificial intelligence in some way as they're, displaying ads and trying to get in front of the right audience. So if you are a company who is actively using AI, talk about it. Put content out there about it. Put it on your career website. Because everybody also too is going to have different guidelines and legal teams who is coaching on what they're comfortable with and what they're not.
Yeah, I think the big thing that I've heard in the industry is automated employee decision tools, right? I don't think that there is an organization out there that is going to let AI ever make the decision on who to hire or who not to. And if there are, aspects, if there are categories that whether it be through fit scoring or anything along those lines, you have to audit, right? That is, and you should audit with everything. Back to you in the math statement. When you go back and track a candidate through the funnels, you're auditing yourself. You're seeing what's effective. You have to create that path and understand it, and be transparent with it. I think you don't necessarily have to disclose that, but leverage AI in a way that it doesn't make the decisions for you. It just assists with individuals, right? We use it. I think it's very funny that this conversation has come up because we've been using AI for years in pretty simple ways. I mean, you mentioned candidates leveraging, AI to trick algorithms. I'm going to tell you right now, everyone was using AI for Grammarly, right? And spell check back in the day for their resume. So it's been around for a while. It's just gotten more and more sophisticated. And I think being transparent, reaching out to all of your candidates who come through, whether it be an email, hear back from them, pick up the phone and call them. If you see that they have applied to 65 jobs at your organization, talk to them, right? Like at the end of the day and say like, hey, what are we really looking for here? You clearly want to work at the organization. How can we make this work? So very long-winded answer there. I want to ask you anything that you really want to chat about that we may have missed earlier in the conversation.
No, I mean, I think we've covered a lot of different pieces. And again, I think I would just encourage, encourage clients to go ahead and look at their own career website, do a search, go to Google, do a search for whatever job you're recruiting for. Go to some of the different platforms, go look to see what your content is on LinkedIn or on Facebook or on Reddit or on TikTok or whatever you are, to try to see like, how are you showing up and get a little bit out of your own, your own space. Like, take your hat off that I'm somebody who works here. I know I'm constantly, when I'm talking to family and friends, they're like, what exactly do you do? Recruitment marketing. So we're constantly explaining it. But I think, one, evaluate where you're at. And then two, reach out and talk to, come talk to us, contact me. We will get on the phone and kind of help you decipher like what is that pain point that you're trying to fix. Is there a tech solution in there? Is there something that we can recommend? That's probably where I would start. Benchmarks, and not to say, because everybody wants benchmarks, right? What is everybody else doing? Those are super important, and it is definitely a guide for that journey in terms of talent attraction and recruitment. But I probably wouldn't hang my hat, because there's so many different variables in what that benchmark is, and trying to compare on, whoever your competitor is.
Absolutely. I mean, you mentioned the swimming analogy earlier, right? And if you're looking in the other lane and trying to benchmark on an organization that has different pain points, and you try and swim as fast as you can, right? You're going to pull a muscle, right? Whatever it may be. You're going to hurt your back or something, because you're comparing yourself that isn't there, versus looking at your own swimming technique, right? And saying, hey, I don't know much about swimming. I'm sorry. I wish I could. I'll compare it to running, right? My strides are too long, or whatever it may be. So all of those things, I think, are super important. Benchmarks are important as just a pie in the sky, but you should try and be better than you were yesterday. It's tough to put yourself back in the shoes of a candidate. It's less tough if it's a good situation, right? If you had a great application process, and you say, you know what, I'm going to see what it's like to apply at a job again. If it's the same from when you were hired there 5 or 6 years ago, it's probably time to revamp that. And I had a conversation with someone, Ed Newman, a few weeks ago, where it is, see what current tools you have and what they offer before you go out and try and find something new, right?
Exactly.
It could be to a shaker. It could just be, it needs new creative, right? For your website or something like that. You don't have to boil the ocean. A bad term, but you don't have to try and do it all at once, right? If you do, it's not going to be successful. This is a fun conversation. I enjoyed it. Anything you're excited about future state as we move forward before we sign off here?
I think, right now, probably some conversations that I've been having lately, I feel like a lot more people are talking about talent pooling and talent communities and CRMs. Now, granted, they've been around for years, right? 10, 15 years, we talked about this, but I think there's this big resurgence in that piece as budgets are getting tighter, as the market's getting tighter, as you're looking for talent. And now, through clients going through an exercise of workforce planning, trying to see where their gaps are, where are they going to have gaps in skill, people retiring, and even people who are just choosing not to come in the job market. So we've been talking about what is the right strategy. And again, the CRM is the tool, right? It's the technology, but it's not the strategy piece. And so how can you execute and really leverage that tool to meet whatever your hiring goals and initiatives are, and create those really skilled pipelines that contain candidates that you want to hire and that are good fits for your company.
Yeah, it's easier to recruit folks who are interested, right, than folks who have never heard of you before, with those talent pools and things like that. Sara, where is the best place for folks to go learn more about Shaker, your storied history, and have conversations about how they can improve internally with their organization?
Yeah, absolutely. You can go to www.shaker.com. You can look for us on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me directly on LinkedIn, and I'll put you in touch with, some of our awesome subject matter experts that are here at Shaker.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay cool. I know it's going to be a hot one out there. So find air conditioning, a pool, whatever it may be, talent pool as well. And we'll see you very, very soon, I'm sure. And thank you once again for taking the time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye. That was Sara Elkins, VP of Digital at Shaker Recruitment Marketing. We chatted about it all there. I think the main crux of it is recruitment marketing is everything, right? It is your ads that you have out. It is the emails that you send out. It is your career site. And rather than being overwhelmed and trying to fix everything, rip and replace everything, take a look at where your pain points are today and work to fix them and be better tomorrow. Don't constantly compare yourself to the giants in the room who have all of the budget in the world and all of the brand recognition in the world. Take it one day at a time, try and improve your situation, and hopefully it will find you some success. You can always reach out to Shaker to help identify some of those pain points. But in the meantime, before you do that, I hope everyone has a happy and healthy weekend, and we will see you soon. Thanks so much.